What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about The Last of Us Part 1 leaks that came out yesterday night, and there's a couple different parts to this, okay? There's number one, I guess there's the security breach that Naughty Dog truly cannot, plug that hole. There's a leak, and they've only made it bigger. Seems like literally everything Naughty Dog related is impossible to keep secret, dating all the way back, obviously, to The Last of Us Part 2. So that's like a funny, I guess it's sad. And this obviously I would imagine affects the workers there, so I do feel bad for them. It is kind of funny in the way that it just keeps happening. So you have that. Then you have, of course, what actually leaked, what we can see with our own eyes. Now, I'm not gonna play the video. There's a video, obviously, that's going around of actually it's the Sarah scene with Joel and Sarah. So that's going around. You can watch that online, and that obviously you can see the differences, right, visually. There's also pictures. I'll show the pictures just because I think it's safer than show. I don't know. Naughty Dog has not necessarily been very nice to people when they've leaked things in the past. Not saying they have to be, but they haven't been. So I'm gonna play it pretty darn safe for these videos. So you have the pictures, and the pictures again. What you gather from these is it's pretty easy. The game looks phenomenal. The game looks really, really good. The cutscenes, obviously. I've always said there's something kind of special to the visuals and the character models of the original game. So losing that, I do think you lose some of it. But also, it does look very, very real. It does look very, very good. So you have to give it to them for that. Even the scenes that we see are in these pictures of what seems to be gameplay, or it obviously is gameplay. It also looks incredibly good. All right, so there's a lot of positives. I want to just kind of make that known. But there's also some negatives, and the negatives come from. So these things leaked, the pictures, the videos, and the same person, at least that's what we think, that's what is going on online, the same person who leaked this stuff also kind of chimed in with their 2 cents about a couple things with the game. They talked about different modes, like 4K, stuff like that. They talked about accessibility options, which I think is awesome, and that's Last of Us Part 2 did that phenomenally well, so I'm excited to see that here. You could see, like, the mods that Joel puts on, like, his weapons, so you'll be able to see that just like you did in Part 2. But the 2 first things they said is the most worrisome if they're true. So let's read it, and then we'll talk about, if it's true. Images / the footage leaker claims there's no gameplay improvements. The leaker also says most gameplay improvements are animations and audio. Now, I tweeted that it's kind of weird when you put those 2 statements, those 2 bullet points together like that, because you're saying there's no gameplay improvements, but the improvements to the gameplay are animations and audio. So I guess what I'm wondering is, what does that actually mean? Now, of course, there's a couple parts even to that, right? I've seen a lot of people already jump on this, and you could say rightfully, wrongfully, whichever one you want. The people jumping on it saying, okay, well, it's absolutely a cash grab now, because if you don't improve the gameplay, or the gameplay is not changed in any way, you're just playing an updated visual Last of Us, 9 years later, and you're paying $70 for it. So my response to that would be, if that's true, if there's literally no gameplay things they did whatsoever, I've always been on the fence with this game. I've said it multiple times in videos. I've always been 50-50. I do think this is a very unnecessary game to happen, but I also understand why people would buy it. I may buy it. I don't know yet. I truly, truly don't. But if this were to be true, I would, the 50-50 would lower, in terms of positives, I would start to lower that, simply just, obviously, because of the gameplay. But it's confusing because the improvements to the gameplay are animations and audio. So, again, like what you hear and what you're seeing the characters move. So I guess my question is, do they mean, the actual, I don't know, like the velocity of swinging a wooden board, right? That has not changed. You're not gonna do like a quick time event to instead of like pressing square and all that stuff. You're not gonna do that anymore. You're gonna do like a whole different gameplay system. Like, if that's what he means, or she, or whoever, if that's what they mean, I don't really care about that. That's not what when I've said this before. Literally, just do Part 2 into Part 1. That's it. And you could even argue that maybe that's not enough to you. Maybe you would want something even more. That's fine. But for me, the bare minimum, or at least what I'm expecting, I want like the dodging of Part 2, just the way the characters can move. So I don't, Ellie obviously can move a lot more. She's more agile, let's say, right? In 2, I don't know if you'll have Joel do the same stuff where he can get on his belly, you know, and crawl. And so I don't know if you'll be able to do literally everything that Ellie could do. Dodging, again, though, I think is absolutely a must. And then, again, when they say animations are improved, well, that honestly to me reads as a positive, because I read that as, you know, when you think of part 2, when you're stabbing or when you're hitting, I mean, the enemies really react, and they when they get hit, their body moves as if they got hit. Does that make sense? And you can like feel that hit much more obviously than you could in part 1. So that's the gameplay improvement that I've always wanted. Now, them saying there is no improvement, but there are improvements, it's in the visuals or in the animations. It's like, well, that's fine. As long, I mean, because if it looks like and it acts like part 2, one of the main weaknesses that some people brought up with part 2 is it didn't evolve the gameplay. Like, the gameplay of part 2 is very similar, if not the same, to part 1. Now, personally, I didn't care. That was actually not a weakness. The story was the weakness to me. That was not a weakness to me at all. I'm fine with it. But people did bring that up. So in that case, it's like, well, part 2 already feels like part 1's gameplay, but they made it more realistic. They made it feel more real, right? More like impactful. So if they just do the reverse, if they, you know, when they're remaking 1, they make it feel like 2, that's fine. That's what I want. So we'll see. I mean, ultimately, what this does is it shows us more of the good. It makes us like question, like, okay, well, again, the way the leaker is talking is kind of odd. Also, people say, well, you know, you should wait for Naughty Dog. Well, that's fine, but it's the same person who leaked this stuff. So like, they saw video, they saw picture, like they probably saw gameplay. So the fact is, you know, yeah, do I want to wait to see what Naughty Dog shows in terms of gameplay before I make my final, you know, decision? Of course. They really need to show gameplay, okay? They like really soon, too. It needs to happen. That's fine, but to completely discredit the leaker, it's like, well, but they probably saw it visually, because it's like, well, what else do they have to do to prove to you that they know? They may not be they may have literally cracked the code, stole this stuff, you know, whatever this person did, but no matter what they did, right or wrong, they probably did see in-game things, because they took pictures of in-game things, so they probably saw at least one fight scene. And by fight scene, I mean, like, you know, just literally any part of the 15-hour game, right? When you're walking around and the enemies are attacking you and you're fighting back, all you have to do is see one of those and you'll know, okay, they didn't change it at all, or it looks like it's part 2. Like, so I don't know. It's actually pretty tough to interpret what the person means, or if you believe them. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow or support me anywhere else, all my social media, including our Patreon and YouTube memberships, are in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.